Well, hello and welcome to Knife Delights. I can't wait to unbox this, unpackage this. I am very, very excited. I know what's in here. I've cut the tape, but I haven't looked yet. So let's look and let's just see what's in here. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. If I can get this box open. Oh, there's some paper here, that's why. Whoops. Sorry about that. Hope you didn't get hurt. No knives were hurt in the filming of this video. Oh, here she is. This is long awaited. Folks, as far as slip joint knives, this is kind of, in a way, one of my holy grails, if you will. Or not holy grail. One of my grail knives, I should say. And there she is. The long-awaited. This is a Buck 301. This is one of the very first versions. This was made by Schrade. When Buck first started their slip joints, they contracted Schrade to make them because Buck didn't have the equipment and the know-how. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. This is going to be a Saturday Stockman Stampede knife. So I'm just going to set it down for now. I'm going to do some research on this knife, get you some facts, and we're going to go over this wonderful piece of cutlery. Well, now, let's take a look at this delightful gem. Again, this is a Buck 301, and when Buck first started making slip joint knives, or offered slip joint knives, they first appeared in the 1967 catalog, and it was the Buck 301. And as a matter of fact, what that 67 catalog said was now, exclamation point, 3 blades of Buck quality steel and temper in a precision tool to fit the pocket. Brass liners, non-slip grip, overall length closed, 4 inches, $13. So that's the first introduction of a Buck slip joint knife. The only other folding knife that I know that they made was the famous 110 folding hunter. So this was their very first foray into slip joint knives. So the best research I can find was that Schrade made Buck knives from 1967 through 1972, or that's when they appeared in the Buck catalogs. And then they started appearing in Buck catalogs made by Camillus from 72 to 1986, and then made by Buck first appeared in the 1987 catalog. So when we look at this here, we can see right off the bat, there's the tang stamp. There is no model number on it. And what makes this the first version is there is no model number there. It just says Buck made in the USA, and of course, they've got slanted bolsters, but they're threaded. So later versions did not have the threading. So as near as I can tell, there were 3 versions of the Schrade-made Buck knife. Say that several times. Schrade-made, yeah. So the first version had the slanted bolster, no model number. And I think version 2, they dropped the threaded bolsters, and they stamped Buck on the secondary blades, secondary and tertiary blade. And then version 3, I think, had the model number, and the other blades were not stamped on it with Buck. So as far as I can tell, 3 versions of the Schrade made. So folks, this is who knows what year this was actually made. But it could be as far back as 1967 or as early as 1972. Either way, you know, being version 1, I would say it's probably 67 or 68. I don't know when they switch versions. I'll try to do more research. But to be able to hold one of the original knives, wow, this is something. Let's kind of break out. I do have a 301 made by Buck, and this was made in 2017. So we can kind of compare here. Of course, still got slanted bolsters, but they're not threaded. And if we look at the shields here, you can see the shield. It's the hammer cutting the bolt, but the shield is much thinner on this Schrade knife. And you can see that the only rivet we have here on the 2017 model, there's just one. We got 3 brass pins on the Schrade made. We can also look at the frames. You can see here the frame is different. There's more of a curve to this frame. Let me see if I can capture that. Putting them side by side like that. You can see there's more of a frame. I don't know if that's capturing it or not. If you can quite see that. Try that again. You can see the difference in the frame. There's a lot of other differences that just really jump out at you. When we look at this clip blade, of course, you know it's a Buck manufactured in-house knife when it's got the cat's eye nail nick there. And of course on the Schrade one here, it's got that very long nail pull on it. Also on the Buck made, you have this swedge, but it's only on one side. And it only starts going down here. When we look at the one from Schrade, it's got a double swedge, double-sided swedge. And if you look close, the swedge starts way back up here. So it starts here and goes all the way down, double-sided. Now this knife has been used. It's not a new old stock or new in the box, old stock type thing. But you can tell it hasn't been used a whole lot because the sharpening choil is still there. What else do we have? Then we get into some of the major differences. One thing that Buck did is they started making their Stockmans with 3 springs instead of 2, so that each blade has its own spring. You can see this very first version 1, there's only 2 back springs, and it has the brass liners. So since they're sharing a spring, you can see the clip blade and this sheep's foot fold out in the same direction. So when they added the other spring, you got your clip blade folding out that way, but the sheep's foot comes out the other end. Let me see if I can change my camera here. There we go. So you can see the sheep's foot comes out at the other end, and it's on that middle spring, so it's sandwiched in between the other 2 strings. Springs. It's morning time, folks. I'm having a hard time getting woke up, but I'm just so excited I wanted to do this video. Well, what else do we have? Well, the inlays are the saw-cut Velox, excuse me. And you can see there, you can really see it there. So that's what Buck meant when they said, it has a good grippy material on it. So the big question is, why did Buck have these knives contracted out? Well, there's a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Hallett. He has a channel, a YouTube channel, and he had a chance to speak in person with Chuck Buck on one occasion. That would have been the grandson of Hoyt Buck, and he told Dwayne that they had to contract them because they did not have the machinery and the tools to make them, for one, and 2, they didn't quite have the know-how and the expertise to do it. So that's why they contracted the first few years. Now, why did they switch from Schrade to Camillus? Well, because Buck at the time, they just called it a lifetime warranty, and you had to register your knife, but you'd get a lifetime warranty. Now they just have a forever warranty. You don't have to register it at all. But as people would send these back in for warranty service, the way that Schrade pinned their knives together, and I don't know what the difference is, but according to Buck, it made it impossible or near impossible to just take it apart and replace a blade and put it back together. So they were kind of unhappy with, the way Schrade actually put the knife together. And supposedly that is why they switched the contract from Schrade over to Camillus, was because of the warranty service. Now, I will caution everybody, the fact that the information and the timelines and that I'm giving on this particular 301 Stockman, this does not follow suit for every slip joint knife by Buck. Each slip joint knife has its own history. There are some models that were never made by Buck and never made by Schrade, such as the Buck Muskrat that was only made by Camillus. So you actually have to go through each model number to see its particular history. Now the 303 Cadet, which would be kind of a medium Stockman, it kind of follows the same timeline, I believe, as the 301 Stockman. It's just that they weren't introduced as early. So I'm going to wrap this up on this one here, folks. I'm so excited. I've gone down this rabbit hole. My goal is now to get the other two versions of the Schrade and start picking up some of the Camillus-made versions so that we can really look at, model from model to model to model. That's something I really, really want to do. Well, you know what? I hope you've enjoyed this and enjoyed the history about this, the 301 Stockman. Just a fantastic knife. And you can be guaranteed almost that you're going to be seeing some more 301 Stockmans on this channel because I've just been bit by that bug. So until next time, everyone, have a very delightful day. And don't forget, down in the right-hand corner here will be a link to my playlist, my Buck Knives playlist. Check out all my other Buck Knife videos. Right down here in the middle is a big round Knife Delights button. Click that to subscribe. And down here in the lower left-hand corner is the next video that YouTube thinks you should watch.